So thank you all for attending this ControlUp Community webinar meetup. I'm really excited about this one. I have Jed on here, and I had the pleasure of working with Jed for almost 6 years at Igel, and watched him, perform his magic. And for him to come to ControlUp, I think is just absolutely amazing. The ControlUp folks that have been around here since day one have created an amazing product, as we all know. Anyone that uses the technology knows how great it is, and now we have someone here to take us sort of to the next level, and I think this is just fabulous. So that said, we'll hear all about that. So that said, what is this thing called community? What are we trying to accomplish here? Well, really, we're just trying to create a place for all you folks, a place where we can learn, where we can share, we can stay up to date on what's new, right? There's one of the great things about ControlUp, as you might know, is we're constantly releasing new updates. Well, how do you know this? What do you know what's in the product? What's been released? And if you have a question, what do you do? Right? So we built a place for that, and that is called the community. So if you're not a member, please join us. If you are a member, I hope you like it. If you have any suggestions, please share them, and I will try to make it better for you. So as of today, we're sitting almost 1,500 members. So if you're not a member, please join. We have 150 ControlUp employees inside the ControlUp community, a bunch of product managers. Jed's even a member too. So you can always just @ Jed Ayres and start bugging him. And what's really amazing about Jed is he will respond. So he's one of the most approachable CEOs I've ever met in my entire life, and I've met a lot. We have 13,000 plus messages posted publicly within the public channels. We have 14,000 reactions. We have over 1,000 different companies in 45 countries. So, and as I always like to say, if you know anybody from Greenland, please invite them. I really want a person from Greenland to join. It's my hope in life. So the next meetup, I don't have one planned yet. I actually have a few ideas, but I really want to know from you. Because like I said, what is the community? It's for you, right? It's of techie, for techie, by techie. So what do you want? You tell me, and I'll make your dreams come true, right, Jed? That's my job, to make dreams come true. Is that what you said?
That's what I would like
I
to
hope
see you
so.
do.
I hope so. I hope so. If not, then, well, that's my job. So if you're new to and you haven't seen this, get your free ControlUp Edge DX 50 user VIP pack. This is 50 users to free. You can use it in production. You can do tons of, it's a free, the 50 users free. What else do I say? ControlUp.com, Edge, well, you see it, Edge-DS-VIP-Pack. Download it, have a blast with it. And if you have any questions, come on over to the community. We'll answer them for you, right? We'll discuss it. So with no further ado, I'm really, really excited about this one. Jed, thank you for taking the time to be here today. Let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and let's just get to this. So first of all, thanks for taking the time to do this. I know that you missing something today. All the rest of the gang are out doing what? And you stayed.
Yeah, they're all looking at religious sites. We're here in the Sea of Galilee. So I'm here with my favorite community, though. So that's a great trade-off, honestly.
Absolutely. So who's better to hang out with the techies, right?
And
You've been to techie parties. No party like a techie party. So
yeah,
that said, let's get started in more of a community way, right? A little bit personal. Before we get into all the CEO stuff and the technology, maybe you can share something about yourself, something people might not know.
something people might not know. Well, let's see. I've been in tech for a long time, so I don't want to tell you something techy. I in 2002, I decided to go back to the town I grew up in Northern California, a little seaside town named Mendocino, and I bought a hotel. And it was a very special moment for me. I actually bought a hotel that was where I got my first job as a dishwasher. And it was a very amazing experience. For 18 years, I had this hotel, and I spent 4 years of my life out of tech, restoring a building that was built in 1882 and taking a distressed asset and turning it into a beautiful bed and breakfast, hotel, wedding destination. So little side adventure, and it was really fun.
That's neat. That's neat. And I know a little bit of that backstory. Didn't you like grow up close to that hotel and like pick apples or something and bring it
Yeah,
back and forth?
yeah.
You
I used
said,
to
someday I will own this,
yeah,
right?
visualize what you want to get in life, Doug. But yeah, be careful what you ask for too. But yeah, I
Oh, I
used to sell
believe.
apples to the guy who was this young chef who was doing organic, seasonal, local kind of things. And so he gladly would buy apples from this 15-year-old kid. And then one day I was asking him if I could get a real job, and he hired me as a dishwasher. Fast forward to 2002, he was still there, and he became the chef working for me. So it was pretty fun role reversal.
That's very cool. That's very cool. You can do anything in life if you just put your mind to it. You really can. So I got to really know you at Igel, right? And I knew you a little bit prior, but when you work with someone and you get to see them all the time and hear from them all the time, you really start to get to know them. Uh, as you and I both know, Igel was a very special place. We all say it. All the employees said it, right? And I think you feel it, and I felt it for sure. Maybe you can share a bit. What do you think made it special? What was so special about Igel?
Well, there was a lot of things special about Igel, but I think probably the magical thing was just the group of people that came together and did something that I think nobody ever expected, right? We took this little German hardware company and inverted it into a software company, really built out the US organization with a bunch of people that were to do something like this, you have to be a group full of conviction and willing to put in the working for a cause bigger than yourself, I guess. And that was kind of the magic that I think we captured at Igel, right? Was taking a German company, mixing it with this American culture, and it was an adventure. 7 years there, and yeah, we built an amazing software company that's on still on a great trajectory. And yeah, I think it always starts with great people, though, Doug, right? And it was like we were able to assemble a team of very like-minded people that mixed with the German team that had started the company. And yeah, we went on a magical ride. And I think it was the community, many of the names I see on this call, of course, right, that came and surrounded us and helped us make us successful. It was nothing great is done alone. And so yeah, it was the partners, the channel resellers that got conviction, and the community. And yeah, it's an amazing ride.
Absolutely agree. I always like to say, and I learned this after leaving, even the people I didn't like were great people, and I miss them. And I'm nothing negative towards Control. Another great group of folks, but IJO was a special thing, and I wanted to just touch on that subject really quick, sort of
Yeah.
elephant in the room, right? So that said, out with the old, in with the new. And probably the number one question I received from people, and when I asked them, "Hey, submit your questions," was, "Why did you join ControlUp? I imagine you had a lot of opportunity, a lot of people coming after you, and why did you pick, ControlUp?"
Well, I did a lot of research on the company, spent a lot of time with the founders, Yoni and Asaf, and I got really comfortable that the technology was something quite special, right? The way they were able to collect data, visualize data, and remediate, and just the sort of like innovation sort of heart of the company. I think you think about building a great technology company, it starts with this sort of innovation mindset. And yeah, I looked at the way the company was structured, also the way the investors were set up. Two great investors, the largest VC in Israel, JVP, combined with a very innovative and kind of not your standard private equity company. No debt, all equity, so clean balance sheet, and really amazing board. And yeah, I looked at the background of Yoni and Asaf. They both came from originally Citrix resellers, right? Here in Israel. And so like we had a very parallel universe. They're a little younger than I am, which is great. But yeah, the sort of like, this is a very small industry. The Germans, they say you'll meet twice in life, but I think in this industry you meet 4 or 5 times. And yeah, so I think it's all about chemistry. And one thing I also realized when I met these two is that I've actually worked, this is my fourth company, I think, working alongside founders, and coming in kind of a senior role. and helping them, grow a business. And so I think there is sort of a special skill that comes with, helping a founder mature their company. And so that it was really about the people and the technology, and obviously the trajectory that the company can go on.
Absolutely, absolutely. I joined for very much, well, similar reasons, I guess. It was the people. I've known ControlUp since the SmartX days, that integrator that you talked about, and it's just some of the best people and kindest and most excitable people. And one thing that's really wonderful is to work alongside people with passion, right? I think at Igel you had a saying. What was it? People, passion, plan. Is that right?
Yeah, it
And
was exactly.
yeah, and these guys definitely have that passion. And anytime you go around the home office or deal with any of the ControlUp folks, you realize that, or you feel it. You don't even have to hear it. You just feel that passion that they have to do great things, and that's infectious. So that said, how do you envision the future ControlUp? It is pretty early for you, right? But how do you envision the future ControlUp, and what key strategies do you believe will get us there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think first of all, they built a great company, right? A very sizable company, and it's been pretty much very much product-led growth. So like, the funny story is, back in 2014, there was this Citrix blogger, maybe one of the people that's on the call with us here today, sent out a really fantastic endorsement of the solution, right? And that moment led to hundreds of downloads and sort of a very viral, growth of the company, right? And for like literally the first couple years, they didn't even have a phone. Everything came in over email, and they just sold this product over sort of just the viral spread of it. And so, this has been the story of ControlUp, right? Is one that got to an amazing size based on a very product led strategy. And so part of what I see as an opportunity here is augmenting that with a channel strategy, with a deeper alliances strategy, very similar to what we did at Igel, right? Great software companies have really deep technical, meaningful ecosystem integrations. So working with Robin Brandel, which I'm sure many of you know on this call, to kind of build out an alliances team, working with James Dunn and Amy Ray on really building up a channel program. So I know I see some channel partners on this call. We're going to be really moving to a more channel-led, channel-first strategy to expose more people to this amazing technology, right? And so those are two of the big things. We're going to really make some significant investment in the whole go-to-market strategy. So the sales, marketing, customer experience, all coming in under a guy who many of you probably know on this call, Tom Holland. He was the first person I hired 3 weeks ago when I started. He was running, the whole enterprise business for Citrix, $1 billion division. And so, yeah, he's taking the reins to really work on that. And I think, some of it has to do with getting the message right. And, that's similar to the playbook we ran at Agile. So
Perfect. And you brought up channel, and this is a question I received a lot, mainly from channel partners, right? In the past, ControlUp sold both directly and through the channel. Will this change? Will we go more like Igel was more almost 100% channel? Can you talk a bit about that?
yeah, so I'm very excited that we're actually pulling together our first channel advisory board meeting in a couple weeks in Fort Lauderdale, and we got a packed room already, 20 executives and some of the key EUC practice leaders who are excited about the opportunity of selling ControlUp. And so, we're going to do a listening tour, not only there, but also in Europe. And our plan is next year to make a significant investment in a handful of key high value partners and make it very economically desirable to sell the product. And we're going to put some hygiene into our program that wasn't there before. And it starts at the top, right? I've been in this industry a long time. I started as a solution provider, so I know what good, partner programs look like. And so you can expect for us to make some enhancements, to make it more meaningful to invest in ControlUp and kind of investing ahead of revenue with some key partners just to get more competency. We don't want to hire 50 salespeople. I want to scale through the channel. And I did this at Igel, I did it at AppSense. And so yeah, again, it's the same playbook. This is the point in the stage of ControlUp's growth trajectory to really work with the channel. And I think yeah, they're gonna help us grow significantly next year as we make investments there.
Absolutely. I remember at Igel when you came in and I remember the first, well, you went to all the channel partners and said, hey, work with us. We want to work with you, but we're both going to make a bunch of money together. Right. And then after that first year, we had another one of these, bring all the channel. I think it was that summit, a Citrix summit in January, and you printed out those giant checks. And some of those the numbers on those checks were more than I make. It was quite, but not hopefully not. I remember,
Yeah,
but
I think we
it
have
was
some
quite
people
amazing.
attention. Yeah. Well, I think there's opportunity for people to build $5-10 million practices around the ControlUp product line. And yeah, it's an expansive category that in a huge space, right? Not only the VDI 100 million VDI seats that are out there, but also the 750 million enterprise PCs. So it's a huge market, and we have a fraction of it. We have about 4 million seats on the VDI side and 1 million on the physical side. So plenty of headroom for the channel.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you're a CEO, but you come to us with a very strong marketing background, right? In fact, I always say you're a marketing genius, and I'm not stroking your ego there. That's just the truth, and we all know that, right? So, how do you see the brand evolving, and do you plan on moving outside of the EUC space? You just mentioned that in the potential growth, and if so, what spaces? Where does ControlUp fit in
Yeah, so
your view?
that's one of the things that excited me about coming to ControlUp is that there's sort of this opportunity to define a category. And today everybody's sort of chasing this category, digital employee experience, right? What is that? It's all the touch points that an employee might have across their day digitally, right? And so that's all the applications, the devices, the whole experience being sort of monitored and measured, and if things are going sideways, your capacity to fix them before the employee even knows, right? And so when you think about why is this important, you think about it in the context of a post-COVID world, right? We've gotten to this place where remote work is here to stay, and you have hundreds and hundreds of millions of people that are either working remote a lot of the time or all the time, right? And so they have a much more digital plays a much bigger part of their working life, and so you kind of combine that with culture and HR, and you know it's in the physical. Obviously some people are going back into the office, but if you think about it in terms of sort of concentric circles, the digital component has gotten way more important, right? And so that's where ControlUp comes in. And from a marketing perspective, I see it as a huge opportunity to take the leading product in the VDI space and the things we're doing with the product that we acquired back in 2020, Edge, from John Rolls and John Wallace, the Avasy product, and then some of these point solutions that we have, Scout Bees, and the unified communication tools, and really combine all of these into a platform that can create the best in class digital employee experience solution. And why is that important? Every company is an IT company these days, right? And digital is a touch. Everybody's getting touched by digital, and so optimizing that is really about productivity and employee satisfaction, and also taking out a lot of point solutions, right? There's a lot of tools out there today that actually ControlUp can take out as you look to have fewer tools in the tool set in this space. So yeah, from a marketing perspective, it's quite a challenge actually to figure out exactly what the right message is, but you can expect by early next year, there'll be a ControlUp 2.0 type message, Doug.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Are we going to give away a Tesla?
I don't know, Doug. Stay tuned. Can't give away all this.
You're going to give all the employees a Tesla. Is that what I heard?
But we are going to get all the employees together for very important kind of reset in January. Um,
Which I look forward to. That said, Dex is very interesting because a lot of us, we're sitting in the VDI world or the EUC space, and a lot of the people, on the call today are those type of folks, right? And Dex, they might know a little bit about, or maybe they don't, or maybe they've heard it, maybe they don't care. And you mentioned a bunch of the value there. Why? Well, I guess you sort of answered that, but I'll ask it again because I wrote it down. What is the? Why do they care? What will give us one sense, or why should these guys care about Dex, the idea of Dex, beyond what they're already doing, right? Aren't they already solving problems, making happy people, what have you? What's different when you start talking Dex?
well, I mean, I think it's really important that we think about productivity. And when I went my first week, I was in VMware Explore in Vegas, and we got 8 different customers to kind of stand up in our booth and talk about how they were using the product. And the one that really stood out for me was Dick's Sporting Goods. You had a guy Vinny, who was the end user compute guy there, right? And he basically said, casually mentioned that he took the login time down from 225 seconds to sub 25. So you're talking about a store. I had to look it up, right? How many Dick's Sporting Goods stores are there? 798, right? And you figure they have 4 or 5, devices, and you're decreasing the login by 200 seconds, right? So you think about the productivity that drives every day across that set of stores. It's a big deal, right? So I think productivity in all the different places that ControlUp can actually improve productivity of that user, it's huge, right? And so that there's a lot of different vectors that we're able to see, and really it's a data play, Doug. That's what I would tell you. It's all about data and visualizing that data, and then be able to act on that data. And there's some exciting things coming, in terms of it's ripe for AI, right? You have all this huge data set, that can be manifested with the generative AI, and so that's an area where we're really making some big investments in next year. We have probably one of the smartest guys in this space in Israel that we've hired, and we'll be building a whole team around him. You guys can look him up and connect with him on LinkedIn. His name is Philip Derbecco. He's like a celebrity status AI scientist here in Israel. So we're building a team around him, and so I think this is a moment where some of the work that we've done in terms of user experience. You think about the heritage of this company. One of the most fragile user experiences being optimized is virtual desktop, right? There isn't anything that's sort of more difficult to tune and manage and optimize, and that's our roots. And so I think the real time product, it's just sort of like, think about that, and manifesting it with this huge data set into the physical PC world, into the any app, any device, anywhere kind of world we live in. And I think the company has just a very huge growth trajectory.
I've been trying to write a bit about Dex, and I have a bunch of documents that I've written, notes almost, and it all comes down to, at the end, I summarize by saying any. And I think to myself, is it just grilled into my DNA that's a Citrix boy? It says any, but it is any, because then it was like any application any does, but it was just in that Citrix world, right? Now we're talking all of IT. It's
Right.
really boundless, right? And at the end of the day, what do? We create happy users like Community does, right? And happy users do what? They're more productive, and they want to stick around too. They want to work harder. They want to not even go home. I mean, what do I always tell you? I hate Fridays because you make me do my second favorite thing on weekends. You know?
You need more
So
employees to do, Doug.
I don't know about that. So anyway, yeah, I love it. And I think Dex it's interesting. There's a category for it because it's really what a lot of us have been saying for a long time. IT's there to make happy people, and if they're happy, we don't have problems. So, okay. That said, Dex, will that change the roadmap? So,
Uh, no, I think I've spent a lot of time. This is a very product centric company, and I just spent the entire day doing an exercise with the leadership team here in beautiful Sea of Galilee. And we went through all these different features, and of course, most of them are driven by partners and customers, right? And so we spent a lot of time really trying to, decide which things we should invest in. And you would love the very analog way that we went about, actually kind of in a democracy way, voting on these, 25 different features that have been asked for in the roadmap, and how we were going to apply the 150 development resources and probably 25 more that we'll be hiring in the next year or so, right? And so it was very interesting, right, to see the challenges of this expansive category, right, and where do you put your bets. And so we literally had poker chips, and we were essentially putting them in. And so actually I left the room to get on this call, but I'm very interested to see how it's going to manifest. But I would just tell you, like, our roadmap is defined by our customers, and so just like we're doing a partner council and we'll ask them, we're doing customer councils and big listening tours, right, in terms of where are the priorities. So I'd love to hear from the people on this call, where they think we should be putting our bets. But yeah, this is probably the hardest thing, right? When you have such an expansive category and some big challenges to solve, where do you put your limited resources?
you got it. Yeah, there's a billion things to do, right? Which 20 can you actually accomplish, and should you accomplish, right?
Yeah.
It's
But I
always
can
the
we
question.
have some exciting things. I would tell you to stay tuned for some things that are in the roadmap around security, around SaaS analytics. These two areas, before the end of the year, you're going to see some exciting announcements. You're going to see some announcements also in the ways that we can enhance Intune, some very slick integrated Intune enhancements. These are three areas where I think we're kind of looking at it probably a little differently than some of the other DEX players, in that we are going to stay very true to the roots of the IT buyer and try to add value to the things that they're in control of from an end user compute perspective. Again, physical devices, applications, virtual devices. And so we think there's a lot we can do with the data that we have in that regard.
Yeah, the more I, like I said, I've been doing a lot of research around Dex because it was a new word for me. I mean, my entire career has always been about making happy. I didn't know what Dex was. That was this CEO term, right? So I started looking into it, and I sort of what I thought was we're like the people's Dex, right? Like we come from the ground up, right? Instead of the this high level fluff crap, we do it for the people by the people, right? Really help the IT staff make their people better. I really that's how I describe it so far. So anyway, so that said, you mentioned AI already. Is there anything else that you can share around AI? I think it's very, very interesting.
I mean, I think that this is an area where we all have to sort of, get grounded on, what's actually going to be feasible and actually make sense economically, right? I think a lot of people underestimate the cost it's one thing to dream up some of these frameworks, but actually making them commercially viable in a way that people will pay for them, or they make sense. So there's a lot of hype, I would say, right now. But we're certainly in a category where, with the amount of data that we collect, we should be able to take advantage of it. And I can tell you, I saw a beautiful demo while I was here. We have some very smart people that are kind of working in a lab here, alongside Philip on the AI side. And I saw some things where, through basically text. There's a lot of work in this space around executive dashboards, trying to make the data really digestible. And we're having to build those dashboards, right? So there's a lot of like, okay, what's the next dashboard supposed to look like, right? And so one area where I think AI may be able to help is essentially being able to, with just regular text, say, hey, I need a chart on, this parameter, and it goes and produces that dashboard for you immediately, right? I want to see all the devices in the US that had a slow login on Zoom today, and it can manifest them and visualize them as well. Not only just giving you raw data, but actually putting it in charts. Oh, I don't want it in a bar chart. I want it in a line chart, right? And I want you to show me the worst 10 offenders or whatever, right? And so doing that all just sort of on the fly from a prompt. So I think we're playing with it. I think we're a quarter or two off from being able to like actually have something that we can put on top of the product, but it's coming.
Cool. I'm excited about that. Here's a question from the audience here, and it's actually next two questions are from the same gentleman. And this goes along with the Dex conversation and what have you? Is there a plan to integrate user sentiment into Dex more? I feel the user's feedback is critical for Dex.
Yep, absolutely, and I think you're going to see some big improvements in terms of how we actually produce that and visualize that, even before the end of this year. So I agree with you. I have this sort of dream of like a Dex score, and literally allowing people to sort of also score themselves against other organizations. And you can imagine a moment where employees go on Glassdoor and they look at what is the quality of the culture and the leadership, and they also look at what's the quality of the digital framework that you're going to be working inside of. And so this is a dream that I think we've texted at late at night, Doug, about this idea of a Dex score that becomes really a gold standard for benchmarking a company in terms of their ability to deliver a really high fidelity digital experience for their employees. And I think some of this is harder ROI for people, but you start to think about retaining and attracting employees. And I've read studies that say a lot of people will take a job that has a lesser paycheck if they have the right tools in their hands, right? It actually is very meaningful to people to have a really high quality digital experience. And so we will be spending a lot more time up leveling and exposing user sentiment in the next versions of the product. It's key.
That's wonderful.
I mean, you can't call it digital employee experience and not listen to the employee.
Exactly. Nobody needs that. Who cares about what they say?
Yeah.
Okay. The next question, as I said, is also from the same gentleman. His name's Luke, and he's probably one of the most active people we have in the community. Really wonderful guy, and he works for a partner, and that partner is also an MSP. So his question was, what are your plans for the MSP market? Do you see value there?
Yeah. So Luke, first of all, thank you for being on this call, and thanks for your interest and partnership with ControlUp. So I would I'm sure most of the people on this call probably saw the Gartner Magic Quadrant for DaaS that came out on September 3rd. And it also, in the very important opening paragraph, it talks about the growth of this space in between now and 2026. It's a massive growth space, right? And most of that growth is going to be driven by managed service providers. And you look at the Citrix strategy, where they're sort of saying, hey, all these smaller businesses, we're not going to service them. Let's put them through a partner, and through a managed service partner is what we're seeing mostly happen there, right? And so we think there's a huge opportunity. And I will tell you, we're already working with a number of the largest MSPs out there. I'm sure everybody's familiar with Dizian, who just connected with Frame. They're using ControlUp, and there's a whole bunch of kind of early adopters that have helped shape the product. We have a lot of work to do still in terms of really building a consumption-based solution. We had long talks about this today. It's on the roadmap and the priorities with the poker chips. And so, yeah, I would tell you we're not only going to invest on the product side, but also on the human side to build the relationships in the field with people like Luke. So, Luke, I would just encourage you to reach out to the channel team and make sure that we're building the product to the right spec. But I will also tell you there's a lot of some of the biggest MSPs around DAS out there today that are using the product successfully and differentiating themselves pretty significantly. And if you read that DAS Magic Quadrant, you'll actually see it's not one of the core functions, but it's in the sort of appendix that says, DEX is something that they're looking at. And actually, they call out my former company, MTM, which is now ATSG, who made it into, I think, the 4th position. The work they're doing with DEX, actually, they called it out as part of the reason why they placed so high. I mean, it was literally, they were right underneath VMware.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you, Luke actually shared some dashboards he'd built, a report he built. It's amazing. And talk about simplifying to an executive level. Luke did it A1. So really, really amazing. I don't know if he could share that. It's probably proprietary towards his customers, but it's pretty darn impressive what he built. So that said, we do have a question around the Citrix Cloud group, and since you mentioned them, or the cloud software group, since you mentioned them, I want to bring them up, or I want to, ask this question: what do you think about the cloud software group strategy, and especially about the new Citrix go-to-market strategy? Probably there's an opportunity for ControlUp.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a classic PE, play where they're coming into a pretty mature market. And kind of trying to optimize it is probably the kind way to say it, right? And in that regard, we see analytics is probably not something that they're going to, and DAX is not something they're going to be making big investments in. And so you can imagine the relationship that Tom Holland has with Sridhar, the relationship that I've enjoyed with Sridhar. We're in pretty advanced discussions with them around how we can partner with them and help them. And so, yeah, they're very open to that. And so, yeah, I would look for deeper and stronger partnerships, not only with Citrix, but also with VMware. And I mean, for most of the people on this call, we may not know, but VMware actually already resells ControlUp. And, it's a very healthy partnership. Hundreds of customers have been introduced to ControlUp through VMware. So we're working on, not only enhancing the sort of go-to-market side of things, but also the technical integrations, especially now that that deal is closing. We actually have a meeting with Barath and his whole team in Palo Alto in October. So you can look for some enhancements there, and we've got people parked in front of Redmond's office doing a lot of work around Windows 365 and AVD as well. So yeah, I think, like I said in the beginning of the call, Doug, great software companies build great ecosystems, and that's part of what I like to believe I bring to the company is a real strong from the top leadership ethos around what it means to partner. And sometimes that can get lost in a very product-led direct sales motion. So there actually is quite a bit of work to do culturally with the company to sort of instill all the goodness that can come from building great partnerships. So work to be done, but I think stay tuned, right? It's already underway.
Perfect. Yeah, I come from the channel. I worked for a channel partner way back in the 90s, right? And then when I came to Citrix, I was a channel SE. And well, back then you didn't have enterprise, so you had one SE. It's an SE, they do everything. And so I think the world of the channel, and I saw what you did with it, or what they did for us at Igel, right? In that relationship, and the value there is immense. They'll walk you places you never go alone. It's really powerful. The next question might be a little bit too technical or might be too specific for you, but it was asked in the chat, so I want to ask
Yeah,
it.
I see it
Right?
here.
Yeah. So, what is the roadmap for adding device warranty to Edge DX? Is that something you would know?
Sorry, I was reading a different one. What was the question?
Oh, yeah. There's a few. So that's good. So let's start with that's what it says. One, what is the roadmap adding device warranty to the Edge DX asset management? Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, in my third week, I can't really answer that question, but I will definitely, get back to you. I know we're working on some really good things around kind of whether devices are, eligible to run Windows 11 as we all kind of crank up for, what will probably be another industry breakout year, in 24 and 25, as Windows 10 goes end of support, right? So I know we've built some things, Doug, that really identify, from a technical perspective, devices that can't run Windows 11 and specifically why. But yeah, warranty, you would think should be included in that. And the metadata that we can get, I'm actually kind of surprised that we don't have that. But again, that may be some work that we need to do with the hardware manufacturers in certain cases to get access to that data. And that is another area where we're working actually already, given my history with the hardware, big hardware players out there. We're hard at work, really building bigger integrations there, with the leading hardware manufacturers. So
You,
sorry, I can't
you got
answer
it.
it, but
I
we'll get back
think
to
I think
whoever
some
asked that question. I don't know if we
yeah
have anybody super technical on this call from ControlUp, but maybe they can help answer that in the chat.
yeah I think I saw it in the community once, and I think it's in development or we're working on it. I don't know 100%, but we'll definitely ask within the community, and someone will get you an answer quite quick.
That's
So
the beauty.
I love it, right? At Igel, we always the support guys weren't my friends because we were 20 times faster than them, and that's always the goal, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah. So, how do you plan to differentiate yourself from the other DEX solution providers? That's a big one, right? Also, are there certain verticals that you are looking to place more focus on?
Yeah, so I think there's a bit of an echo chamber when you look at the key players in the DAX space, right? The big one is NextThink. They're very much going after the enterprise. They don't think they really touch deals that are 25,000 or less, and they're very focused in sort of integrations into the HR and that kind of a thing, right? Onboarding. Some interesting concepts, but I guess back to what I said earlier, our focus is really the guy who's sitting, managing the end user compute space and all the things that go on those devices. And so like we're going to stay true to our roots, I guess, is how we're going to differentiate ourselves. And we're going to use the sort of intellect and IP that we've developed with the real-time product, and building the sort of, I think, the best tool for VDI, which is probably one of the hardest things to solve for when you really think about end user experience and employee experience. And so applying a lot of the things we've learned since 2014 to the physical side. One of the things you're going to see is we're really working towards building a much more unified platform, which will allow you to have a more unified control plane for all of the things that we bring to the table. One of the first things I've embarked on is a pricing and packaging strategy. So I think you're going to look for us to lead the market in terms of simplifying how to consume this technology, where it doesn't matter whether it's virtual or physical. And a lot of the things that we've come out with that might be sold as a sideline, just being built into the product, right? And really building a digital platform that has best in class capacity to actually also bolt on other things that we build here in Israel out of our lab, but also make inorganic acquisitions. And so I think that's another thing that everybody should look for is, we have such a strong balance sheet that we're in a position to, especially once we get this platform to a place where we can scoop up some of these interesting point solutions and bolt them on and add more value to the customer. So yeah, I
That's
think
wonderful.
at the end of the day, it's staying true to our technical roots and the technical buyer, and listening to the end user, and make end partners, and in terms of helping and customers shape our strategy.
Perfect. The next question might be private. You don't have to answer it, but I'm going to ask because it's listed. I have to ask, right? They'd be mad at me if I didn't. So I'll let them be mad at you, not me. So I'm the community guy. Come on. So
Ask
what
any.
is control? Yeah, what is ControlUp's expected revenue for 2023, and what is the growth plan for the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, so one of the things I probably would get in trouble with our investors and board is sharing that, but I can tell you it's a high double digit ARR, annual recurring revenue, and we expect to grow it between 40 and 50% next year is what we're budgeting. So we're going to approach a level next year that probably only 150 software companies in the history of the world have achieved, Doug. And that's our goal, right? Is to sort of 2022 and 2023 were actually pretty challenging years for pretty much everyone in the SaaS space. The economy and inflation and wars and all these things, and also the sort of nuclear winter of VDI being refactored with Microsoft, Citrix, and VMware all kind of changing lanes, if you will. So we feel like 24 is going to be a breakout year with the investments we're making in the state of the market. We see a big growth next year and into 25.
That's great. I will say, because
Doug, one other thing I will share is we have 1,700
please.
customers, and the average deal size is right around 50,000. And so this is, and I told you already, the seat counts, right? We have a 4 million on the VDI side, 1 million on the physical side. And this is an enviable position actually, because we have this sort of very steady mid-market and SMB business, and we're not like surviving off of huge enterprise lumpy business. We have a very predictable kind of small to medium sized business, and so part of the strategy in the next 2 years is to go hard at the enterprise customer. We think we can add a lot of value there. It's a slightly different selling motion, right? You need a different type of a team. This is where the channel comes in, and some of the investments we're making in the field teams to get into the enterprise accounts. So
Perfect. I love it. I will say my personal opinion, and of course I know absolutely nothing about what Jed knows, is a 10x growth. Easy. 3 to 5 years, 10, just way up there. Mark my word. Jed, I'm usually right about these things, right?
you are. You got
Surprise.
you got to visualize where you want to go before you can get there.
Oh, absolutely. And I love 5X. 5X goals are great, because if you choose 5X, and of course I said 10X, but 10X is not a 5X. That's that's totally doable.
This is
so anyway.
That's all I would say to you, Doug, right? When you're building a category and defining a category, one of the exciting things about joining this company is that, this quarter we're actually cash flow positive also, right? So it's a pretty extraordinary situation to have two great investors, have a very clean balance sheet, have a really functional board. None of our investors have a majority share in the company. So this is up to the management team to really execute well, and you're going to see ControlUp go on a real nice growth.
You got it. And you have a wonderful community that's only getting bigger, which brings me to my next question. What is your vision for a community? Where do you see community fitting in? Is it important to a ControlUp, or just some Doug's folly out here?
I mean, community to me is everything, is what I would say, right? It's like the 100+ people that are on this call, right? You guys are the ones that really make it worth it and give us so much great input. And we want to feed you, and we want it to be reciprocal. And so I love the the motto that you have, Doug, which is, this is a community for the techie by the techie. It doesn't have a strong arm of sales or marketing. It comes, forward with sort of this servant heart mentality, born out of, trying to make, the experience of interacting with ControlUp even better, right? And I think it's serving us very well. And so I would say we're only going to continue to support you and invest in ensuring that the community grows. And one thing I would love to see is, as we come back to a post-COVID world, that we also move to a place where we can do DEX meetups with sponsored by ControlUp, and we bring people together physically. Maybe I'm old school, but I like getting together with people and the magic of breaking bread and looking at people eyeball.
You got it. There's no replacement for looking into someone's eyes directly and hanging out and, like you said, breaking bread or drinking a bunch of beer together. Jed once said, "Doug gives his liver to Igel," and I screamed out, "No, I don't." I'm getting old. I can't do that anymore. So one last, well, I have a couple more questions. We only have 5 minutes, so we'll make these quick. Another question from the audience. It came in or submitted, and it was probably the second most requested or submitted question. What is the exit plan? Do you plan on selling this to a giant vendor? And then they said Microsoft needs ControlUp, or are you going to bring Doug home and take me back to Citrix?
So obviously I get a lot of these questions too, right? And I think my focus, Doug, is just to build a great company, right? A great company in terms of the product, great company in terms of the culture and how we interact. And, one of the things I've sold, 4 or 5 companies now in my career. The one thing I've never done is take a company IPO. And one of our investors, JVP, they've taken 16 companies public.
Wow.
I think, they're the largest VC here in Israel. And obviously Israel has a pretty sterling track record in taking great technology companies, scaling them, succeeding in the United States. It was pretty fun here in this leadership meeting. We actually spent a lot of time talking about the sort of the Israeli culture, and they're very ambitious people, but they're also just sort of very wholesome and just have a great sort of familial comfort about them, right? And so it's an amazing thing to I just left this German company to go to the Israeli led software startup, and so I would tell you my aspirations are really to build a great company, and a company that could is headed towards that rule of 40 and is in the upper quadrant in terms of SaaS companies that has the capacity to go IPO. I think that should be our North Star. And that's what, in terms of how we build the company. It's not about, we want to sell to, private equity or even a strategic. To me, the North Star is build a company that's got a strong enough story to actually do an IPO.
Yeah. And an exit's a result, right? It's a result. And that's not your goal. It's not a result. Your goal is to build a great thing, whatever we want to define that as. The result is this, lots of money and exits and all this fancy stuff. But the goals,
we want to create a lot of value for customers first and foremost, that help people do their best work in this digital world that we live in. And as a factor of that, growing a company, I think you can touch a lot of people's lives. We're hiring a lot of young college kids. We're going to put an office in Fort Lauderdale, and build a really strong digital sales, SDR, SMB sales, renewals. So, you can touch so many people's lives in such a positive way as you build a company like this. And so, it's about the journey and the process of building something that, has a lifespan that will go well beyond myself.
Perfect. We have just 2 minutes left, and we have 2 questions left, and I'm pretty sure you can answer these pretty early or pretty easy. Will there be an EUC Disrupt event next year hosted by us, ControlUp?
I've got a lot of people that ask me the same question, and someone even told me we should call it Dexrupt.
That's great.
And maybe we should, because I think this space is, is in need of some disruption and leadership. But yeah, I think I would say yes. We're going to put something together. How soon it happens? Maybe it's as early as the end of next year. Something humble, like we started with Disrupt. It's a lot of work to put on an event like that. But yeah, I would say bringing the community together, bringing the ecosystem together to talk about a very important topic, digital employee experience. And I look at it as it's sort of at the top of the pyramid, right? There's all these infrastructure and a lot of things that sit under it. And so yeah, I think it actually is something that could bring the community together and be a worthy physical event, especially if VMware and Citrix stop doing their events, and or Igel. I'm not sure if they're going to continue to do Disrupt. So we'll see. Stay tuned on that.
Okay, I have one last question, and this one made me laugh out loud when I received it. And it's from Marcus, my buddy from BrainCon, and Marcus was also an Igel community member and a big ControlUp community member and big fan. And he's in a car right now with the partner and one of the co-founders of BrainCon named Andreas. And Andreas, I find out that his friends call him Andy. I call him Andreas. So anyway, he gets this joke. So they wanted me to ask you the question: do you have any plans to transform ControlUp from a software company into a hardware company?
No plans on that front, right? I think everybody can appreciate the margin complexion of a software company and the valuations and the wealth that a well-run software company can create. So I think I had my fill of hardware in my life. It was an amazing journey to take this small German, hardware company and completely flip it into a global software company. But that was a lot of work, and yeah, hardware creates a lot of complexities, especially globally, sourcing and delivering and living through COVID and the supply chain challenges. I love hardware. You need hardware to run software, is what I found. But I'll leave that to the Dells and HPs and the Lenovo's of the world.
Your reaction is what we wanted to see.
Well, you hopefully got it. I'm not running towards hardware.
Have you received that question? Has anyone asked you that one?
No one ever asked me that one, Doug, and I wasn't expecting that's a curveball.
I told you, I told you I had a good one for you, and we can thank Marcus for that. So next time you see him, next time we're together, I'll introduce you to him. We can have a good laugh on over that one. Jed, it's the top of the hour. I know that you probably need to go out and do so. You need to get back and have some fun and learn all the stuff, that they're doing without you, right? They just planned the whole company
this
without
is what
you.
they gave me when I got to my room. This, and this.
Yeah.
And a flask.
Yeah. Any Sambuca though? What's the deal with no Sambuca?
No Sambuca.
Community. We do Sambuca in community.
I mean, this company is young and ambitious, and they have a lot of fun. That's one thing that I actually have really been enjoying. The culture here is one of their core values is good vibes, and they live up to it.
Yeah, they're good people. They when I joined Citrix, I'll never forget it. July 9, 2001, I log into the portal on the very top of this, 1990s looking website, which was very, poor looking 1990s. It said, work hard, play hard, get results, and have fun.
Probably was made front page.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, DABCC was written in front page to first version. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And then I come to ControlUp and they're like, oh, here's tequila. I'm like, well, I can't do that. Sambuca, not tequila. Jed, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. I know you're off on an offsite with the executive team and the leadership team, and so taking the time to come and chat with us is really, really amazing. I appreciate it. We all wish you the best of luck, and I think everyone on this call has the same. As what can we do to help you? Just let us know. We have an army out here that love ControlUp and want to be part of the growth in the future. So that said, thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, thank you, and thanks to everybody out there. We love you so much, and hope to see you somewhere in this world. I'll be in Barcelona for VMware Explore there. So hopefully you'll see some of my European friends. And yeah, take care and stay healthy and happy.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you inside the ControlUp community. Yeah. Oh, one last thing, Jed. You did ask about someone asked about the question of what was it? Things you asked the question in ControlUp, what are your favorite features? Maybe you can post that question in a different question to ControlUp. You know, what would you like to see us do? Or what was the, do you remember the question you asked earlier? So
Did I ask
please,
you?
yeah, that you asked us. So please feel free to continue to
Oh
use
yeah,
the
yeah. I
community.
think one of the things we were looking for is we really kind of, try to land on, the great things that ControlUp does and get that embedded in the messaging and, enablement that we do with our partners. But it's like, what are the most important things that ControlUp does from a product perspective, right? We got some great soft answers around culture and support and, the team here, but it'd be great to, yeah, I'll put my email in this chat window, and if anybody wants to answer that question, you can email me. Um, but yeah, we're really interested in kind of hearing where you see the value, and I think this is part of the marketing challenge, Doug. Is it's such an expansive tool set, and we can make investments in so many different areas. So understanding where the most value is being derived, top three things would be super helpful to me as I embark on this journey. So thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, absolutely. And please continue to use us. Thank you again, Jed. Thank you all for joining. Stuart, no more cowbell. On that note, everyone have a great night, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you all.